Hello everyone, welcome to Interpreting Tradition. So, who is calling the shots? This is going to be a video about mainly politics or geopolitics. I want to tell you that I'm going to, in the link below, you will see a few videos that I think you will find interesting. I certainly have, and I hope you will watch them. I have a feeling that most of you we all follow the same videos when it comes to politics or to religion or to the Pope or whatever it might be. Of late, I have become a little bit bored with most of them, many of them, because I think that they're just repeating themselves. I'm not learning all that much. I have a feeling, not all of them, but I have a feeling that most of them just post videos just for the sake of, posting a video, and they might repeat themselves quite a lot. So I'm getting a little bit bored with a lot of them. So I try to find some new sources. There are so many there. Where it's a fresh outlook to everything, and those I try to share with you. Now, of course, it is very possible that you have known them already and have been following them for a long time, and they are new to me. I mean, you'll have to decide that for yourselves. But well, let's see. So with this title, Who is Calling the Shots? In my previous video, which I titled, what was it? Such a parcel of rose in a nation, from Robert Burns. Our lack of trust in our institutions. I dealt very generally on how my belief is that there is a powerful, and you probably share this, there is a powerful elite at the top that has a strategy, a goal, and an aim. And, excuse me, I have to drink a little bit of tea. I don't know. And my point was that our politicians and our institutions, my feeling is that they're just following orders, and we have ended up with politicians that do not actually have the interest of the people they represent as their main objective, but simply are following orders towards a greater goal, as it were. And who are they? Well, we don't know. We don't know them by name, but we know the institutions through which they operate. Yes, the international institutions, together with the World Economic Forum, the United Nations, the World Bank, and so on and so forth. Now, these institutions, tell me in your comments if you think I am naive, because I don't know. This is what my opinion is. These institutions were, let's say, to put it in very general terms, set up at the end of the Second World War, and let us say that the original intention was good, for the brotherhood of man kind of thing. Okay, eventually these institutions were pretty much taken over by the United States, and they operated towards what was in the interest of the United States. Now, the United States could very easily say, well, we pay for them practically, which they certainly do or did, certainly NATO, for example. But it is a fact that if they were against the interest of the United States, they will soon be put in the right track by some means or another. But something changed, I believe, in the 90s with Clinton and Blair in the United Kingdom, with all the deregulation that suddenly this new transnational, above national interests was created or emerged at any rate, that do not have the interest of any one particular nation. They don't into account. They don't answer to any one particular nation. On the contrary, particular nations have to sort of follow their instructions. Perhaps it's international finance, supranational national finance, whatever it might be. Okay, and the point here is that we are getting confused because you see, for example, now with the war going on and so on, we hear about, you know, the unipolar world and how the United States wants to maintain this war in order to continue with its hegemony and, you know, the unipolar world and all that sort of thing. I think it is true to a certain extent, but I would like to invert it, because I think that it is the United States that is being used actually by this above supranational interest. In other words, what people now call the American empire. It was something never used before. Perhaps Pax Americana was a term to define this, but now they call it, the critics call it the American empire. The others call it the rules-based international order. And people say, well, that is not international law, that is rules-based according to the United States. Whatever the United States decides that it is the international law, that is what goes. But I think that the United States actually is being used. In other words, being used militarily, being used economically. The American taxpayer is the one who pays for it, politically, and so on. But they're not really answering the interests of the United States people. They are not benefiting from this unilateral, unipolar, hegemonic power of the United States. In other words, the American system of government and American finance and American military is used to the benefit of those who are themselves above the interests of the United States. And it is a sort of an inversion here that I see. Of course, the United States, the American people are being talked to, saying that this is in our interest, in the interest of the United States. But I disagree. I don't think it is in their interest. I think it is in the interest of those who are using the United States and the American people to further their agenda. I don't know whether you agree with me. Let me know. But in any case, in this situation, obviously, Russia said, no, we don't want to be part of that rules-based international order of yours. But at the same time, it is said that the United Kingdom is like following the United States, and they are like a little poodle. They are just following orders. I disagree with that too, and I found a video that I'm going to show to you by the LaRouche organization. His name is Dr. Harley Scvhlanger, Scvhlanger. I have been following this organization for a while. Now, it has a following in the United States because something happened to Mr. LaRouche in the 1990s. He was persecuted, he was put in prison, and so on. And I think they have a following. I am not American, so I don't follow it because of American politics necessarily. But this gentleman, this Dr. Scvhlanger, has quite a few things to say about the geopolitics, not just about the United States, and that is why I follow him. And he is going to argue that in this particular short video, if you like him, try to follow him, because this is a rather short video, but he has many in long form where he goes on and those are very interesting. I learned quite a lot from his view of looking at things. He argues in this particular one that it's actually the other way round, that it is the Brits, as he says, that are actually imposing, perhaps that's the wrong word, the ones who are leading the United States into this particular way of doing business. And he brings into focus the fact that the Brits have been doing this for quite a while. It was the English who brought the United States into the First World War. It was the English who brought the United States into the Second World War. It was the Brits who, and he goes on, the Crimea War, and so on. And he explains that these are two different views of governing, the English and the American. In the British way, even though there is no longer a British Empire, he argues, nevertheless that way of governing is still very aristocratic. It is still very empire-like. It is still very governing for the benefit of those at the top. Except that instead of having a British Empire now, it is a worldwide financial empire. And so they're bringing the Americans into it. I'm summarizing his argument. Obviously, you will be able to see it. And in other words, he says it's British brains and American muscle who is operating here. I don't know, but it makes sense to me to a great extent, although I don't know whether that is what is happening now. And it makes sense to me because I think that the British have obviously a long history of governance. As an old nation, a nation like an individual has a history and an experience and carries the scars and what he has learned throughout history. Might have a better, is immersed in that history, and it probably sees the world in a different context. America is a young nation, 250 years and so on, compare it to the 5,000 years of the Chinese and so on. And it hardly has any historical scars. It does have some, but certainly not as many as older nations. And it's also made up of people from many different cultures and many different nations. Now, normally, you see, the nation state was formed because before anything, there was a nation. That is, there was a tribe there of people who were very much one like the other. They shared common history, they shared a common language, they shared a common God, and so on. And so they constituted a tribe, let's say a nation, and then later on with Westphalia in the 17th century and so on, they became a nation state, state meaning the political governing of that nation, and so acquired independence and sovereignty, free to rule their own affairs. But normally, and of course borders have been changing through many wars and so on, but nevertheless you have a sense of nation or a nation state built around a cultural nation. Whereas in the United States was inhabited by people from all over the world. So what became the equivalent of all those scars of history, of that common identity, was obviously the Constitution, the flag, and so on. But people came from many different cultures. And so it is possible, even though perhaps Americans don't agree with it, it is not derogatory to say that Americans in their dealings, in their political dealings, lack a historical perspective. I think that is true, but it's not meant to be derogatory. It's meant to be that you are very young and you were made up by many different cultures. You don't have one common culture. It had to be created. It didn't grow up organically. Yeah, so the sense of history that the British have goes deeper than the one that America has. And so it is possible that the British are better at seeing the longer perspective, wider perspective, and Americans with their power are better at instituting, doing the things. Okay, so it's like the guy saying, you know, in this direction, in that direction, and then the powerful man is the one who does the action. So this is what the first video that I'm going to put down in the link deals with, and this is on geopolitics. My summary is not very good, but just to give you an idea of what it is about. The second one is for, since this is mainly a channel dealing with Catholic issues and so on, the second is about two videos that I have found, all of you, they are Catholics, who might find interesting. It's Bishop Vitus Hoeunder. He's a German, and he's speaking in German with very good translation into English. And he has 4 major videos, conversations. And I'm going to link below part 2, which he's talking about what is going in the church and how it came into this and so on, but it's from a different perspective, and he's German, and I think you will find it is persuasive, perhaps, what he's saying. So the second part is about what happened in the 70s with the changes in the liturgy and so on. This is an old subject. You have seen a lot of videos on that and so on. But just look at it because it's a different take from a German. And then another one, part 3, which is overcoming the crisis. He does admit that the church is in crisis. There is no point in saying that it is not. You might want to say, no, it isn't, you know, you're against the Pope or whatever, but that is not truthful, and that is not realistic. If we are going to preserve the faith of 2,000 years, we have to see if there is a problem, let's look at it, okay, and let's see what is happening and how we can deal with it, okay? Because if it is true that through the changes of the liturgy, the attempt was to change doctrine. Personally, I think that that was the case. You may disagree with that, but if the doctrine is presently being changed, we have to be aware of it. We may look at it and find that there is no problem at all, or we may just want to examine what is going on and what we can do to deal with it. But to just say that there is no problem is not the solution. Brothers and sisters in the Catholic faith, that is not the solution. There is a crisis, and let's see how we can deal with it. So I hope you enjoy these 3 videos, and let me know in your comments. Okay, thank you so much. Bye bye. Oh, and by the way, I have been and I will be posting quite a few videos in Spanish. Ignore them. This is for the Spanish-speaking audience. So if it comes up in your feed or whatever, just disregard them. But do subscribe, please. Do me that favor, because I find that I don't come up very often. I can hardly find myself sometimes. So if you subscribe, then you have a more easy access to these videos. Thank you so much. Bye bye.